You have to strengthen your mind along with your body. If you want them to be yours one day, you have to show me you are strong enough to carry them.
The ego is made up of a compilation of erratic points of view supplied by mental processing, empowered by feelings and emotions.
How did you find me?
I always know where my children are. I gave you 10 years to live your life, and where did it get you?
Remain aware that the real you is not the ego.
Now it's time for you to take your place by my side.
It's not gonna happen.
Refuse to identify with it.
I've had many names throughout my life. The Warrior King, Master Khan, the most dangerous man on earth. For years, I thought that was all I was meant to be. But when I met their mother, everything changed.
And to the heart and spirit, a sunny day or rainy day are the same.
She showed me a part of myself I didn't know was there. It was like I was seeing the world for the first time.
Awareness enjoys qualities rather than grasping at form and matter. It can enjoy being with without having to own or control.
She gave up everything so we could be together.
And awareness is not driven by goals,
And so did I.
but instead values the capacity for equal pleasure in all circumstances.
"这是谁呀？你说你好，妹妹。"
After all those years, I finally found something worth growing old for. My real name is Wenwu. She was the only one who called me that. And when she died, I was lost for many years. But I'm not lost anymore. When you children ran away, I was so desperate to connect with your mother. I threw myself back into the studies of her village, the legendary Talo. I wasn't able to find the secret path to the village entrance, but I did find what they are hiding. There's a gate deep in their mountains. Your mother is waiting for us there.
These desires represent the attachments that the Buddha spoke of.
I know this is a lot. I might not have believed it if she didn't tell me herself.
What are you talking about?
I was sitting right here in this seat, deep in my research, and she spoke to me.
As the bondage of suffering thought.
It was like she was standing in this room. I could feel her breath on my cheek and her hand on my back.
If one lets go of the vanity of thought,
She told me she needs my help
To do what?
to save her from her people.
it dissolves because all thought is vanity.
After we fell in love, your mother wanted us to live in Talo. She asked permission from the elders and they refused. They said I wasn't worthy.
All thought is the cause of suffering.
She would still be with us. We would all be living there together. Talo did this to us.
And all opinions are vanities.
They locked her behind that gate to punish her.
The pleasure of vanity is therefore the basis of the ego.
Don't you see?
Unplug it.
She's leaving clues for us. She wants us to find her and bring her home so we can be a family again.
And it collapses.
Dad, Mom's gone. She's not talking to you from behind a gate, and she's not leaving any clues for us.
Then what are these?
One mechanism the ego uses to project itself is to disown the painful state and project it onto the world and others. And this is what we are all experiencing today. Projections of our own individualized pain suffering, and fear. And once we are aware of our own pain in the mind, we can heal it with our awareness. It is the inner that creates the outer. And the undoing of ego is but by use of the power of truth itself. And although each person's path is unique, the terrain to be covered is relatively common to all.
The passage to Talo is guarded by a moving maze. But there's a direct path through the forest that only opens once a year, on Qingmingjie. To get through, you need to know the route and the exact time it opens. Now I know both.
It is necessary to develop respect for spiritual endeavor. Straight and narrow is the path. Waste no time or effort.
3 days from now, we will rescue my wife from her prison and bring her home.
To look within is to find the underlying, ever-present source of the illumination of the mind itself.
This is why you're here. To help me bring her back to us.
And what happens if they don't let you open the gate?
We'll burn their village to the ground.
The ego is therefore potentially deadly.
What?
To the ego, a want is interpreted
You can't just march into our mom's village with this bullshit.
as a need
I mean, do you have any idea how insane this is?
and a have to have. Thus, its seeking can become frantic.
Hey!
And all caution can be thrown to the wind.
Where are you taking me?
你还要装多久? Lock them up!
And after one has observed the general field of mind, it is apparent that the specific content of thought is not rewarding. One has to stand back and move further into the next level of consciousness and ask what is it that it is watching, observing, being aware of, and registering the flow of thoughts. The ego gets a grim pleasure and satisfaction from suffering, and all the levels lacking integrity, which is pride, anger, desire, guilt, shame, and grief.
以心行气，以气运身。要先掌握阴阳的转换，你才能找到内心的平衡，从而真正认识自己。
When you realize the thoughts are not mine, there is no me involved, and spiritual evolution is the automatic consequence of watching the mind. Spiritual processing is like positioning oneself in the wind or in a water current.
你丈夫想灭了我的门，我们今天是来回礼的。
你们之间的事情跟我的孩子们无关。
放了他们可以，但这个礼必须得有人来接吧。
And this discipline is a contemplative attitude of poise.
玲玲，上气，进屋去，我跟客人有话要说。
可你现在没有魔法了呀。
上气，别怕。
One is not forced to feel resentment by negative memory, nor does one have to buy into a fearful thought about the future. These are only options, like a television running its various channels for selection, and one does not have to follow any particular temptation of thought.
Mama.
One can fall into temptation of thought as feeling sorry for oneself, anger, or worry. But the secret attraction of all these options is that they offer an inner payoff or secret satisfaction that is the source of the attraction of the mind's thoughts and content.
爸爸。
And there is an inner secret satisfaction in being a martyr, victim, or loser.
他说我是可以改变的，我也可以放下一切。可是他错了， 如果我当初没有把他们摘下来，那些混蛋根本就不敢动手。我要他们付出代价。
And by repetition, they eventually gain dominance and control, which is the innate purpose of the narcissistic ego in the first place. In approaching the ego, it is well to remember that it feeds off of and is seduced by the energy of the negativity of pain, suffering, hate, and guilt, to which it then gets attached and addicted. It loves hatred, being right, and revenge. This is its juice. It sees forgiveness, compassion as the enemy, and the ego's rigidity and resistance to correction are based on narcissistic egotism, pride, and vanity.
李老板呢？
我不知道，我真的不知道。
那好。
And the ego defends its own limitations with prideful denial, thus becoming its own victim. The ego is a victim of itself. It clings to emotionality.
血债必须要血偿。你愿意帮爸爸吗？
Which is intimately connected with its positionalities and pretends to think that it has no other choices. And it loves its positionality due to its great payoff. Conflict is therefore of the ego, and harmony of the spirit. It also creates enemies by projecting itself onto others, but as itself.
We found the man responsible for killing your mother. It is your right to finish this for both of us. And when you return, we will rebuild the Ten Rings to what it once was.
And the ego's position propagates itself because its secret sought payoff is the emotion itself. The personal ego self never runs out of drama and problems, which are invented as a tool of self-propagation and survival. The less we identify and think, the more delightful our life becomes.
没关系。
These desires represent the attachments that the Buddha spoke of as the bondage of suffering, thought.
咱们一家人很快就能在一起了。
And by spiritual endeavor, one discovers that is oneself who has been captive and a victim ensnared by the clever deceptions of the ego.
So, pretty confused right now because initially I thought your dad should definitely see a therapist for his delusions, but then that dragon vomited a magical water map and now I have no idea what's real. Is what he said about your mom's village true?
She used to tell us stories about Tello when we were kids. A village in another dimension full of magical creatures. I thought it was just a fairy tale.
What if that's right?
The secret pleasure of suffering is addictive.
About Mom being locked behind a gate by her own people?
Crazier things have turned out to be true.
Look, I don't know what the hell is going on. But if we don't find a way to get to Talo before him, he's gonna destroy everything that's left of our family.
This family was destroyed a long time ago.
Many people devote their entire lives to it, encourage others to follow.
The hell was that?
Instead of indulging in guilt, shame, and self-hatred.
You're going toward that noise?
It is far more productive to accept it for what it is, appreciates its historic value, and adopt it as one would a naive pet.
What the
What the front? Oh! What is that? What is that? Oh! Who?
What's what?
That! What is that?
You can see Morris.
Morris?
Oh, Morris! They can see you. You're real. All this time I thought I was hallucinating him. Oh, this is such fat news.
Morris says he knows who you are.
It talks to you?
If he didn't talk to me, I'd gone mad yonks ago.
How would he know?
He says he grew up with your mum in Tarlo. Apparently, your father picked him up in some magic forest on one of his expeditions to find the entrance. He wants you to take him home.
How did you...
Dad has a tunnel system under the whole compound. That's how I escaped last time. This will take us straight to the garage.
And the brain is the instrument of the mind and can be played upon by the lower mind and made to cater to the passions and appetites of the animal soul, or it can be made to respond to the guidance of the higher mind, the mind of the spiritual self or soul.
You should speed up.
What? Why?
Katie, go, go, go!
Morris says hard right on 3.
What?
2. Hard right where? Now.
Precision is discipline that is innate to serious commitment, and the focus remains poised on the razor's edge of the crest of the fleeting moment.
It's all about staying in the pocket.
What pocket?
We're in it now.
What happens if we don't stay in the pocket?
The forest eats us.
Eats us? What does that mean?
It says it eats us. Go left.
In this poised position, mental activity and imagining gradually recede, revealing that the underlying field is activated by the desire and the intention of thinkingness itself.
One last right, then straight on to the end.
And one pointedness of mind means to focus on the crest of the wave of witnessing, experiencing.
You might want to hurry up.
What do you think I'm doing? We're not gonna make it.
Plus being willing to surrender perceived loss or gain.
Coming home, Mummy.
And that is the primary skill that is needed. And instead of forcing change, allow divinity to do so by deeply surrendering all control, resistance, and illusions of gain or loss.
Morris says, great job, everyone. Now, all we have to do is go through that waterfall, and we're pretty much there.
It is not necessary to destroy or attack illusions, but merely to allow them to fall away. And the strength of the ego is such that it can be only overcome by spiritual power. The ego's hold is weaker by acceptance, familiarity, and compassionate understanding. In contrast, it is reinforced by self-criticism, condemnation, fear, and shame. And spiritual work is therefore a matter of exploration that transcends mental concepts such as those of cause and effect. Spiritual processing is like positioning oneself in the wind or in a water current.
Bloody hell. I think those birds are on fire. Really? Morris says it's normal. They're old mates of his.
In an early mankind, when the animal form was untrained and incapable of responding consciously to the indwelling soul, the animal selfishness, passions, and desires predominated and impressed their vibrations upon the atoms of the body. And the sooner we learn this lesson of personal responsibility for the condition of our lives and environment, the sooner will both humanity and the lower kingdoms attain their true place in peace and harmony.
That's a weird horse. What's it looking at me for?
Our people have been here for over 4,000 years, preparing for something we hope will never happen. We are the keepers of the Dark Gate, sworn to protect this realm and yours from the evil that's locked behind it.
Our dad is coming here to open that gate. He thinks you're holding our mom there.
Why would he think that?
She told him. He says he can hear her asking for help.
Is he wearing the rings?
He hasn't taken them off since she died. What do they have to do with all this?
The realm of Ta Lo stretches far beyond the shores of our small village. We have cities that surpass any in your universe, rich with culture and history. Thousands of years ago, all of our people lived in peace and prosperity, until the attack of the Dweller in Darkness. He came with his army, devouring every soul in their path. And with each kill, they grew stronger. After decimating our largest cities, they were headed to your universe to do the same. The leaders of Ta Lo sent their strongest warriors here to stop them from reaching the portal to your world. But our ancestors were no match for them. Until the Great Protector joined their fight and turned the tide. Together, they pushed the Dweller and his army into the Dark Gate and locked it behind them. Our people have guarded that gate ever since, empowered by the magic of the Great Protector and the gift that she gave us. Dragon scales. Makes very good armor. Your father isn't the first to come here to open the Dark Gate. Many have tried and failed over the centuries, and they all had one thing in common. They were lured here by the voice of something on the other side. A voice that promised them their greatest desires.
So you think soul eaters are talking to our dad?
They know the 10 rings have the power to break them free.